What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to College Football Talk with Peter Burtonette. And in today's episode, I'm going to be going over the comments by Nick Saban at a panel on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. He appeared with Senator Ted Cruz and gave some thoughts. I'm going to be mainly reacting to about a minute worth of his comments. I'm going to be playing that here in a second and kind of giving some of my thoughts of the landscape of college football. But if you go on to enjoy this video, please feel free to leave a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and turn on those post notifications so you're always up to date whenever I post. But without further ado, let's get into Coach Saban's State of the Union.
All the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. So it's always was about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life. My wife even said to me, we'd have all the recruits over on Sunday with their parents for breakfast, and she would always meet with the mothers and talk about how she was going to help and impact their sons and how they would be well taken care of. And she came to me, like right before I retired and said, why are we doing this? And I said, what do you mean? She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this?
And so there is kind of some of Nick Saban's thoughts, and I jotted down some of the things that he mentioned. I mean, he starts in this clip, and I might see if there's other clips that I can find. This is the one that, kind of gained my attention that I saw on X. But he said, all the things I believed in for all these years in college athletics no longer exist. And what he goes on to talk about then is the development of players being the focus, and how he was talking with his wife recently, Terry Saban, about how, they used to have these recruits over for dinners and all those things, and the student athletes and I would assume even their parents were, instead of asking, how are you going to develop my son into not only a great football player but a great man, they're now asking, how much are you going to pay? And so those are Saban's thoughts. I'm sure, again, if I could pull up any other information about what he said, but it kind of showcases that he thinks college football and college athletics in general is kind of in a bad place. And when the greatest college football coach of all time has that to say, I think it definitely raises some eyebrows and creates a bit of a storm and a media storm. I'm sure there'll be a lot more breaking down of this in the coming days. I know recently, I think Joel Klatt reacted to it on his show. He had made some similar comments, and now in Tuesday's hearing or panel at the Senate kind of made some similar comments. So I'm going to kind of give my thoughts on where I think college football is, where Coach Saban is right, and I think he's mainly right, and where maybe also, though, it is part of a changing landscape. And is that the worst thing, or is it just part of the process of hopefully ultimately making college football better? So reacting then to what I thought Coach Saban got right, I think this idea of, rather than being focused on the development of not only these young men as athletes, but also as students and as young men in general, has now, is no longer the forefront. The forefront of their minds is how much they're going to be paid in name, image, and likeness, NIL deals. And, I imagine there's some campaigning here involved, but I think it definitely showcases how college football is in a place, and college athletics in general is in a place that kind of this quote-unquote old guard, somebody like Nick Saban, is kind of getting pushed out by. And I think we could kind of see that. I mean, I think even as he said, I believe, maybe in an interview with Reese Davis or in the time since he retired, that was part of the reason why he did step down from Alabama and retire from coaching. So I think, it's part of the changing landscape, and I don't want that to just be an excuse. I think it is where college sports is headed in general. And I also think it's not entirely negative. Most things in life, there are positives and negatives to take from things. Obviously, there are some situations where it's all negatives, or where it's all or very much mostly positives. But I think this is a scenario where, are these athletes going to be making money at the cost of being developed not only into better athletes, but better students and better people, as I've said previously? I think that's a major concern. I think if you put, the acquisition of money at the forefront, that causes a lot of problems. I mean, as a Christian, money, the love of money is the root of all evil. Um, and so I think just on a moral standard, that is something that, of course, you want to be able to provide. You want to provide for eventual, the generation after you, and even maybe generations after that, creating generational wealth. But at the same time, if that's your only focus, I think that's a dangerous place to be, and I think it's kind of ultimately not fulfilling. And that's a discussion for another platform, maybe than college football talk. So if you want to hear more about that, maybe check out my podcast that I co-host and founded with my best friend Joe Staten. It's called True North Talk. If you want to give that a listen, it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. But I think, again, this pursuit of money ultimately is kind of above all other things, is ultimately to the detriment of these student athletes. And again, I'm certainly on the side that these athletes deserve to be paid. I have been arguing for that really mostly just through papers when I was going through high school and even in college, advocating for athletes to be paid. But I think it is also about the motives behind it and what the regulations are around it as well. Being able to organize that and make it something where, I think you look at it in something like the NFL. Obviously, some guys are motivated by solely the money. They want to get the biggest contract possible, and that's the extent of their motivation. Some guys just want to win championships, and some guys want to go to the place that's going to develop them into a better football player and a better person. And so I think the same thing can apply here in college football. I think there is a way where you get compensated for the talent that you have, and you get your due while also still developing. And I think the truly great players are the ones who look for that. And so I think that's what we can only hope for in college football, that remains kind of at the forefront. But I definitely side with Nick Saban here of, the old way in college sports and college athletics as a whole is fading away. Will it be gone forever? That's a question that remains to be answered. But I think NIL has done positives for student athletes. It allows them, again, to be compensated for what they deserve, I think. And, the fact that it was basically the NCAA making money off of these athletes who were the ones pouring in all the sweat and the effort and bringing in all that revenue, and they didn't get a single share of the pie, at least not legally. So that at least is a positive change, but I think it is shaky ground, and I think we're at kind of an inflection point in this development of name, image, and likeness and the money that comes from that. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below, what you think of Coach Saban's comments, what you think of the current landscape. Obviously, it's shifting. I think that goes without saying, but I think Coach Saban kind of provides a good look at it of why this is an issue, and I think I agree with him. But again, like I said, I think there are positives with it as well. But again, if you've watched to this point in the video, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Again, comment your thoughts below, and check out the next video if that pops up. It really helps out the channel a bunch. But thanks again for watching College Football Talk. I'm your host, Peter Burtnett, signing out. Peace.